2025 marks a pivotal moment in human history. And I'm not speaking from hyperbole here. This is as significant as major milestones that we've all witnessed or have experienced as a part of humanity. The creation of controlled fire, agricultural revolution, the formation of cities, the industrial revolution, the discovery of petroleum, the creation of the internet, and now the age of AI agents. So here's what most people miss. There's going to be two categories of people in this world: those who will be completely crushed by this revolution, and those who are willing to thrive beyond, and those who will thrive beyond their wildest dreams. Why? Because those whose skill sets are low valued, more redundant, more tedious, will 100% be replaced by AI agents that are more accurate, more tenacious, able to work 24 hours a day, never get fatigued, never ask for a vacation, never ask for a raise. So this episode will give you a clear vision of what's possible in today's reality. And we're just going to touch the tip of the iceberg right now, because much more is going to happen in the next months, not years, months. Things will continue to evolve very, very quickly. If you don't try to stay ahead of this and understand the application, and you don't move as fast as possible, you will fail. There's no doubt about it. As real estate investors, you can use AI agents as your biggest equalizer. This is akin to people who did so during the startup phase, in like the .com startup phase, who started building their businesses in their garage, like Apple did and like Google did. That's the kind of moment that we're living in right now. People who understand how to specifically develop AI agents, how to create them, how to deploy them, will become the next billionaires. Even Mark Zuckerberg said that at some point in the near future, there will be more AI agents than human beings on this entire planet. So let me show you exactly how this works, how you can start understanding what AI agents are, so that you can also apply this to your own business. First, let's be clear and dismiss one of the biggest misconceptions of AI agents. So unlike chatbots or simple automations, AI agents are like digital employees, so that they can think, learn, and make decisions. So you can think of it this way: if ChatGPT is like a calculator, an AI agent is like having a full accounting team. So here are some of the key differences that you can consider as well. So chatbots, they respond to commands. Automation, they follow preset rules. But AI agents actively work towards goals, they learn from experience, and they make autonomous decisions. Sounds like some really incredible workers, right? So if the difference between having someone who just takes orders from you or someone who's running your entire business. So before we dive into a real estate application, let's go over three main types of AI agents that you'll encounter. Like, these are the three that are in existence today. The first one is called goal-based AI agents. So think of these as your dedicated taskmasters. They're designed with specific objectives and won't stop until they achieve them. Second kind is utilities AI agent. So these are your behind the scene and analysts constantly optimizing processes and identifying improvements. Autonomous AI agents. So these are more sophisticated, more high level. So you can think of them as AI executives. They're able to make complex decisions independently. So now that you understand the different types of AI agents, let me show you exactly how they can revolutionize real estate operations and investment in general. There's 5 cycles that we have to consider. So AI agents operate on what we call the digital decision cycles. So the first cycle is they perceive their environment. So this is where they gather up their data. They process inputs. So they create knowledge. So knowledge based. Make decisions using logics and analysis to come to a conclusion. They execute on that. This is called the implementing the solution. They learn and they adapt. So improving over time. The reiteration is what is critical here, because you put in the expectation of your AI agent, and they're going to continue to improve. They're going to test what works, what doesn't work, and they're going to iterate different pathways to get that job done. So how does this work for real estate investing? So now that you're excited about this, let's look at how it can transform multifamily operations. And we'll talk both from the operation side and a little bit from the investor relations side as well. So one of the things that it can do really well is autonomous leasing agents. In our properties, we've had AI chatbots where it can do some minimum communication past, work hours of their leasing office. So for instance, we have agents on a couple of our properties, and what they'll do is I think one's called Sonia or something. So what they'll do is after hours, someone comes to our website, some lead gen from any source, they come to our website, our multifamily website, and they want to inquire what's available. So they just type in the chat like, hey, they click on the chat box and this thing pops up and ask them, hey, hi, what's your name? What are you looking for? And then it goes through that kind of automation, like, oh, this is a room that's available, this is the rate. That's fine, but that's like where we're just scratching the surface. Imagine now this AI agent, sorry, I keep calling this a person, but imagine this AI agent now actually having a deep conversation with this person and asking questions like, why are they moving into town? What are some of the things they're looking for? And then match it to one of our properties that makes sense for them. If they're saying, as we have a shift in demographics, it's important to understand some areas you're going to have more starter families, singles and starter family, or you'll maybe in some other areas that there are larger family sets. So you can have conversations with them and ask them like, why are they moving to this area? Is it for family or is it for work? And then the AI agent can have that kind of conversation and recommend specific products to fit their unique needs. And so this would make it so that they actually feel like they're being heard and that we can actually fit the product to the tenants versus try to just pigeonhole what it is. So they're obviously going to handle the increase 24/7. That's normal. Now here's a cool part. They can start negotiating lease terms automatically. You set parameters of what you're okay with lease wise. Tip to people who are new to this business, you may not know, not all leases are the same for the exact same room. If you look at any rent rolls, the prices vary, and how that negotiation occurs is between the leasing agent, the property manager, and the tenant. So how the dollar amount shakes out, it's up to them. So the negotiation happens all the time. In certain times when there's really, really high demand, there may be no concessions. You may say this is the top of the market price and settle for it. That's all you're gonna have. Or in certain times you may say like, hey, this is winter, it's slow leasing season. I may be willing to change the terms slightly in order to make it so that they would sign up. So that kind of negotiation can happen without us, a human being, actually being involved. Now the other thing that we should consider here is that at this point in time, we may not want the agent to be completely autonomous, and at some point you may need to have it reviewed by like a live person, but that can be on a supervised roles, right? So like this is a submission, they agree to it, and you just say, okay, let me look through this before we sign off. They can obviously schedule showings and follow up. The cool part also is that they can actually do market analysis. When we even when we're buying the property or when we're operating, we're always analyzing the market data to see what is the most optimal price. Currently, there's a couple ways to do this. The first one is you literally call your competitors or people in your area and ask them like, hey, what are the prices you're charging right now? What's your occupancy? So that's like first-hand data, but it's a small sample set. You can also buy third-party data. So there's a couple software companies that does this, but it could be pretty expensive. It can be almost like $600 to $1,000 per month. But then like you may not be able to optimize the price properly, and some prices may change daily. They already have that kind of system, but it may not be as dynamic. Okay, so those are some of the like top level about leasing, right? That an AI agent can come into play. So the second thing is property management assistance. So this one is really critical. When you deal with a large complex, things will break. And in the past, like I own this property C-class. I used to own the C-class property in Fort Worth, Texas, and we were on a chiller system. So basically, it's one big cooling device that feeds cold air to the entire building, and that thing falls apart quite a bit. And like in terms of like what AI agents can do in that kind of scenario, they can predict when to do maintenance or when preemptively to do maintenance before an issue happened. Another scenario is another property that we used to own where people would use to turn down the thermostat all the way down. And their older AC, even though they're individual AC units, when they turn it down to like 60, it freezes our pipe and causes like condensation to happen, and it breaks down our equipment much faster than otherwise would. You can connect these systems to now have smart thermostat, but the smart thermostat itself isn't really smart. It can't really predict when maintenance issues can happen, but using AI agents who understands how to seek out those things can be really important, because maintenance before the thing breaks is going to be way cheaper. And this is also the same thing that you can do for pipes, electrical issues, anything else. It can also schedule repairs and coordinate repairs with your tenants. We have sort of this with apps, but the level of detail that you can get into is not the same. It can also communicate with tenants. When you communicate with tenants, it could be as simple as, hey, there's a social gathering, but it could be more difficult conversations like, hey, when are you going to pay your bills, or like, hey, we may have to evict you. Those kind of conversation can happen. And also, in some instances, there may be language barriers between the tenants and the leasing team or the property management team. With this kind of AI agent, you're going to be able to be fluent in multiple languages. Also, when we do biddings for vendor repairs, outside vendors, it could be plumbing, electrical, HVAC, whatever it is, you could have the AI agent actually negotiate with vendors and make sure that you optimize that relationship. A lot of times we ask for at least 3 bids for any project, but that may not be enough. Maybe there's a way that the AI agent can talk to. And guys, like, we're talking here, we're building out this. If we have this AI agent, it's not going to just isolate to our property. The vendors will probably have AI agents who can then communicate over a vast group of people so that they can optimize the process. So another thing that the AI agent can do is investment analysis. So there's 2 places that investment analysis comes into play. So as we're analyzing deals in real time, meaning like we're looking to purchase properties, instead of spending hours and hours inputting the data and pouring through the financials and comparing it to other properties, there may be more effective ways that AI agents can do this in seconds. And that's really tremendous. The other area, when you're talking about operations that can be tremendous, is if we are able to have the agent analyze our financials on a weekly, daily, monthly basis and plot out not just areas where they see deficiencies or something that they need to flag us to, but they can also help us understand trends more and what's happening internally, where they see like, hey, these are below the surface issues that we may not see today, but it may become something complicated later. So you can have it help you do your financial analysis as you're operating properties across your portfolio, and then you can do comparisons, or you can use that for just analyzing deals that you're looking to purchase. These are going to be able to run really, really complex financial models. We strive on having a pretty robust financial analyzer tool for our properties, but I'm sure there's even more details that we could have inputted that we may not be able to do with resources and also just the hours it would require. Now we can do really deep dive without having to worry about that. Also, even just sourcing like optimal financial like structure, that's really important. There's many different ways you can structure things, and sometimes it's tedious to have to go through and try to like, okay, this is scenario 1, scenario 2. But if you have an AI agent who's basically like a CFO role, you will be able to have some really compelling financial structure that you can put together. So as for like the investor relation, especially for smaller firms, some may not have dedicated investor relations personnel, and even if they do, they're not going to be available 24/7. The key to this game is you have to be able to have the investor feel that you're really accessible and also able to answer a lot of their questions when they need it. There's an example of this where when not our deal, but there's someone I know who invested with this company, and after they sent their money, like they were nowhere to be found. Not that they ran away, but they were just harder to contact. And so when you do that, like the investors, they're gonna have their confidence gonna drop in you as operators. And even on the presentation side, when you're doing presentations for investors, AI agents can put together the most optimized investment presentations. It can handle, again, all the investor communications. It can track and nurture all these relationships with hundreds at the same time. And so on that side, it can help you actually let's say you set a goal of what you want to raise or how many investors you want to attract. It can come up with a plan, targeted, strategized, strategic plan that can help get that done. How do we implement this in our business today? I tried, right? So I searched I did a lot of research trying to find companies that are already setting up AI agents for real estate businesses, and I haven't found any that has done anything as complex as I've listed out. But they're coming. And so the application is, if you reach out to developers who are doing this for other businesses, there's ways that you can cross over. But for us, like the best way to start this is to start small. Start with perhaps like beginning with the leasing automation, because that's something that has less nuance, and so you can actually track that easily. That's going to help you tremendously. It'll help with lowering your delinquency. It'll help increase your occupancy. It'll help with your lease renewals, all that stuff. Then add maintenance coordination and doing the preemptive maintenance. You can also then scale that to investment analysis. There's so many different solutions right now that you can try. There's no code solutions that are sort of more basic AI agents. There's also custom solutions that can be more complex. So integrating these is really important with your existing system, whether it's a property management software, if it's accounting software, if it's a CRM that you're using. The AI agents will have to connect through all these different software solutions that you have, so that you don't have to get the information from one and then you manually move it over. So the integration is going to be really important. And obviously you're going to have training and optimization that happens, and that feedback loop is going to be so important to actually make it so that it's actually better and smarter and more optimized every single time out. And obviously what I said before is the biggest concern. There's a couple concerns that will have to be addressed. Obviously the first one is security concerns, because this is something that there's going to be a lot of data on there, and there's going to be obviously unscrupulous people or other agents looking to get access to that information. So how we set up those parameters inside not just the framework of AI agents, but also just in terms of cybersecurity will be very, very important. The other thing that's important, like I mentioned earlier, is that especially during the beginning phases in the next months, AI agents can be flawed. And you don't want to let the final decision or outcome just be in their hands and just be super passive and just hand that off. You need to have people who are going to be there to actually review, like I said, negotiating the lease terms, negotiating with vendors, all that stuff, right? So you'll still need a human person to basically QA the final product or final outcome, just to make sure that that's safe. In terms of when I said earlier at the beginning, some people will definitely be crushed by this. I think there's some things that the AI agents or AI in general probably will never be able to eliminate. And these are things based on empathy, based on some nuanced human communication that doesn't have a specific framework, that doesn't follow a specific rule. It's just what we feel in our hearts, and that's how we communicate, and that's how we make decisions on some topics. That I don't think that'll ever be something that we can replace them with. But let me wrap this up with this. Right now, timing is crucial. So remember that we're living right now in a very pivotal moment in human history. As I mentioned from the start, we're really living through it right now. Like I mentioned before, if you think about this, the Industrial Revolution, it actually created millionaires over decades. The internet boom created billionaires over years. The AI agent will create billionaires in months. And it's just like the revolution where there's three types of people. There's going to be those who resist and get left behind, those who wait and watch from the sideline, and those who act and capitalize on those opportunities. I hope you're the latter, and I hope you find value in this and that you go ahead and start thinking about what is the role of an AI agent in your business.